Did Thomas deserve this?
Did Thomas deserve what? To be traded? Well, look, there's a famous line from the movie Unforgiven where Clint Eastwood's character looks at another guy who, honestly, he's about to kill, and the guy says, "I don't deserve this." And he said, "Deserve's got nothing to do with it." That's sort of the lesson for Isaiah Thomas, or for any of us, really, for that matter, in life. I have some medicine to take. I have some crow to eat, some penance to pay. I'm the guy that sat here for a year and said Isaiah Thomas is better than Kyrie Irving. A year ago, I said the only trade the Cavs could win was if they could trade Kyrie to Boston and get Isaiah Thomas back. But here's the deal. Everything that Isaiah was a year ago, he's honestly been about 180 degrees the opposite this year. Last year, he was an inspiration. This year, he was a distraction. Last year, he was a leader. This year, he was a malcontent. Last year, he was fourth quarter, Mr. Clutch. And this year, he couldn't even get on the floor. And, maybe this is the big one in the end. Last year, let's not pretend like he was good at defense, but the Celtics knew how to hide his defense, and this year we know how bad Isaiah Thomas has been on defense. And that's the best example, because the truth is, that's not all his fault. That's Ty Lue's fault. Brad Stevens knew what to do to hide that defense, and Ty Lue couldn't figure it out. But life's not about fault. Many of these things are not all Isaiah Thomas's fault. But in the end, it's not about deserve. You didn't fit in. You didn't accept your role. You didn't take on the role that LeBron's willing to give you. And in the end, it didn't work, deserve or not.
Well, I mean, it was the wrong fit in Cleveland, clearly. And the reason, by the way, he couldn't finish in the paint was because he has a bad hip. When you're 5'7",
that too.
When you're
that
5'7" and you play a sport that selects out for height, maybe one or two guys in the history of American team sports have done what Isaiah did at his height, a top 5 MVP finish. Then he hurts his hip, things are different. The circumstances change. Those teammates don't know him the same way. He's looking for a payday, of course. He's been underpaid his entire career. Isaiah Thomas didn't change this much, but his circumstances did, and his reaction to those new circumstances have us with a very different opinion of him today. Isaiah Thomas, I've never quite seen a fall from grace in terms of the way someone is perceived this quickly. Consider. And by the way, Will, you say hide him on defense? Last year, he was hidden because he was on the bench in the fourth quarter, and the Celtics won the playoff game. That's one way to hide him.
Well, there's no doubt that Stevens did a better job of covering up Isaiah Thomas's
Sure, but
defensive woes.
it's not Isaiah's fault. He's a small. You put him in a pick and roll. You got to compensate for it somehow. The point is this. Isaiah, a year ago, not even a year ago, penned that article for the Players Tribune about, it was so heartfelt and amazing. This was about how upset he was about leaving Boston, how he embraced that town, the town embraced him, his family, how he felt like the Celtics were family, how he felt betrayed. He's looking on to Cleveland. He's going to play with the best player in the world. Think of your perception of Isaiah at that moment. Top 5 MVP finish, leads his team to a playoff run. Oh, my God, this guy's been underpaid. His sister passes away. He deals with the whole thing. Unbelievable. This guy's it's my favorite player. Goes to the Cavs, appears to be a distraction, appears to alienate all of his teammates. His hip is bad. He can't play defense. We already know that. Also can't play offense until his hip gets better. I mean, then he gets traded to the Lakers, which he's got to love right now. And the first thing his agent does, which does reflect on him, is tweet out in all caps, he is not coming off the bench. I mean, every note he's struck, I don't think he's changed. Stephen A., he said the things he believed about the Cavs at the time, but he didn't have the credibility on that team to say it. He hadn't been there long enough. He wasn't playing well enough. And now his agent tweets this out. It just looks bad. Isaiah's the same guy. I love him. He really is my favorite player. But his fall from grace in terms of public perception in less than a year, I've never seen anything like it.
Goodwin brothers represent Isaiah Thomas. I'm assuming they were the ones who said it because you said their agent. I didn't see the quote, but if they said something like that, it wasn't smart at all. Because actually at this particular juncture, Isaiah Thomas is best coming off the bench because he can lead the second unit. He has the ability to score the ball when he's healthy, and he can make noise that way and re-elevate his stock because it certainly has plummeted right now. Will, I don't disagree with anything that you said, except this, and you didn't say this, but it sounds like that's the impression everybody's trying to give. I don't blame Isaiah Thomas for a lot of what has happened. This is a guy that averaged 28.9 points per game last year. He was one of the top 4 candidates for league MVP honors, okay? He gets hurt. Obviously, he was emotional when Danny Ainge first let him go. We can understand why. He never wanted to leave Boston, but he ends up in Cleveland. Who does he end up playing with? Yes, it is the best player in the world in LeBron James, but somebody who is clearly and conspicuously ball dominant, sometimes who dribbles the ball 10 to 15 seconds at a time, relegates everybody around him to spot up shooters. And what happens? If that's not your game and that's not what your success was predicated on, it's costing you. Now, we can easily sit up there and say, well, you can't be worried about that. Isaiah Thomas has got to be about the team, blah, blah, blah. This is an undersized individual who played like a giant last year, who's been repeatedly underappreciated and underpaid for years. And now you're in a position to cash in, and everything gets ruined. Kyle Lowry signs for 3 years, $100 million. Bradley Beal, even though that's an off guard, $138 million. John Wall, a point guard, signs for $175 million. Steph Curry signs for over $200 million.
Yeah.
Chris Paul turns down plus $200 million. I'm saying if you're Isaiah, you may not deserve that dollars for those guys, but you certainly deserve something within the ballpark at the time. So you know you got injured, you're coming back, and you're looking to finally get your moment, your day, your payday, and all of this stuff gets in the way. And we're asking him as human beings to stomach all of that and find a way to get over it when I don't know if any of us could.
But if you want